Jamie and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing my full review of CBS Ghosts. Finally, this has been very heavily requested and very long awaited. Sorry about the wait. I just had to catch up on stuff on like the episodes so I could actually do the review, and yeah, been quite busy since then. But yeah, let's just get straight into it. The video will be structured as in things I liked, things I didn't like, what I'm looking forward to, and also whether or not I prefer it to the original or not. Obviously, before we start this video, there will be major spoilers for CBS Ghosts. I'm not going to hold back with kind of what I say. I'm not going to, I'm going to talk directly about things that happen in the show. So if you haven't seen it, you don't want it spoiled, then don't watch this video. So first of all, what I liked. The first thing that I really liked was how much it went into the lore of being a ghost and all the different things ghosts can do. So obviously from the original, it took that they, some certain ghosts have powers. It went into like ghosts moving on to the afterlife or getting sucked off. Those are things that we've seen in the original and that they've carried on. But the CBS Ghosts goes so much more into what the ghosts can do and how they interact with like the living world. So for example, Jay gets possessed by Hetty after getting shocked by getting an electric shock and then like falling into Hetty's ghost. And so yeah, he becomes possessed. And I think it's a really interesting way of getting Jay involved in the ghosts a bit more, and he gets to know Hetty since she is possessing him, and it's a way of him to kind of get closer to the ghosts and more aware of kind of like what Sam is dealing with. And this event is kind of referenced in later episodes as well, and she does want to possess him again, so they kind of draw on that a bit. So yeah, I really like that. I think I wanted that to happen sort of in the UK version. I think I mentioned it in one of my videos at things I want to see happen. So I'm very happy that they decided to do that. It was a really fun episode, and yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it. They also have Hetty's husband go to hell, which yeah, her husband is like, yeah, he brings a lot of different things. So for example, when he walks through people, like living people, they become very sexual because he is, obviously he cheated on Hetty a lot, and that is something, so it kind of turns them into like these sex crazed people. And obviously that leads to like very funny plot lines, and I do kind of wished he had stuck around for a little bit, even though like his character was horrible. Like I hated him, but I think it did lead to some funny moments. And yeah, so he gets sent to hell, and obviously Hetty then thinks that her power is to send people to hell. Obviously it's not, but I feel like it was a very fun way of kind of getting rid of a ghost, and yeah, moving a ghost on in a different way that we haven't seen before. I know this one was kind of referenced in the British one, in the Christmas episode, the first Christmas episode, the idea that children can hear ghosts. And this, again with Hetty, she links a lot to the lore in loads of different ways, but she could hear Thor singing to her as a child, like he would sing lullabies to her. And I think that's a really interesting one, that she could hear this ghost and interact with him as a child, and then obviously later on becomes a ghost, and yeah, they're ghosts together. So I think that was a really cool, cute little like heartwarming plot line, and I really liked that. I think that was very sweet. There is also a teenage ghost called Stephanie. She's only in one episode. I imagine we probably will see her in the later series, but yeah, so she is a teenage ghost. She died on prom, and her characteristic, her ghost thing, is that she is asleep for every day of the year except for her death day, or like around her death day, because she was woken up like accidentally, but I think it's her death day. She's only awake for like one day a year, and because she's a teenage ghost, teenage sleep all the time, I guess. But yeah, I think that's a really cool idea. It introduces the opportunity of having a recurring character, pop in and out as and when she's needed, without kind of being introduced into the main cast fully, because even though I thought she was quite cool, she was mean, a bully. Like, I don't really want her to be in it all the time, but occasionally popping up now and again, yeah, it's quite fun. And the last little piece of lore that I liked, again, I'm not really sure if it's 100% confirmed, but the idea of Thor placing a curse upon Sam and Jay to stop them from opening a B&B. And like, obviously in the end episode, it seems like that this curse is real. So I feel like that's a really good way of kind of introducing it. The show comes full circle, him making a curse when they first introduce, and we seeing the impact of that curse at the end. And yeah, it's the idea that they could have a, an effect on the ghost, on the real life people, on the living people. So the next thing that I really liked about the CBS ghosts was the way that they introduced a lot more ghosts throughout the show. So in the UK, when we kind of see a ghost pop in and out a little bit more, like the pilot ghosts, we see them wave to her at one point. We don't really see much about it. We see that one Cavalier ghost, was it? I can't quite remember, but he, like when they're walking down the street with, we see ghosts very briefly throughout the series. Like she doesn't really interact with them too much. Whereas in this one, it is a lot more, she does interact, like Sam interacts with the ghosts a lot more frequently. So the first example of this that I remember was when she goes to pitch her story to the journalists, and she meets Shiki, who is Sass's ex, love interest, before they died, and like she becomes kind of like a messenger between the two of them. We also have Nigel and the other English soldiers, and obviously Nigel is kind of more of a recurring character than the other ones. We have Sam's mum and the diner ghost. I think again introducing Sam's mum as a ghost I think was a really cool idea. I'd love to see somehow Alison get to see like her family again. They'd be really emotional, but I'd love to see that. I think it'd be a great plotline. And of course we've got Stephanie as well, and there have been a few more throughout, which I think makes a lot of sense. Like I think in the UK when they do it quite well, where Alison just kind of like waves at them and they're like, oh my god, she can see us, or she just tries to ignore them throughout, whereas I think both have their advantages, and I do like both of them, but I do like getting to know other ghosts as well and seeing how the ghosts are kind of like scattered around the place where they live. So as the show moves on, it definitely becomes more original. Obviously it's a remake, so it will never be like fully original in a way, but they do have a lot more original and inventive storylines and subplots as well. And yeah, it really distinguishes itself from the BBC version. So much so that I do think of them as two completely different shows. To me, especially as the series goes on, it doesn't feel like a remake. Obviously, there are little bits of plot lines that they do take from the original, as is expected, but generally, I feel like all the ghosts are distinct from the BBC version, and Sam and Jay are completely different to Alison and Mike. So excluding just the core idea of the show and the first few episodes and the little plot lines, to me it is very original. Like I said, it doesn't feel like a remake. Some of my favourite little plot lines was them playing D&D. I love the relationship between Pete and Jay. I love Thor going to therapy through Sam. I think that was a really cool idea. Again, I liked Stephanie the prom plotline as well. Again, I think just really original idea. As I mentioned with the characters being distinct, I do really like every character. There's not a character I don't like. Obviously I have my favourites. I really like Trevor, which is something that I wasn't expecting when I first heard about the character descriptions. I really like Trevor and Pete as well. I think Pete, again, like I said, is very distinct from Pat. I think they're completely different characters, apart from the fact that they're both scout leaders. They are really different. The characters also develop over time, I would say quite well. Sometimes it does feel like it moves a bit too quickly, which is, I'll get onto that later, but the characters do develop. They become nicer, more tolerant and more modern as it goes along. For example, Isaac comes out to Hetty, and you wouldn't expect from Hetty's character from the beginning that she'd be accepting of that, but it was a very nice scene. She just accepts it immediately, which we wouldn't expect that from the first episode. And while they do develop, they don't lose their quirk. So again, referencing Hetty, she still hates the Irish, which is obviously not a nice thing, but it's part of her character. She becomes tolerant of other things. That's just the one thing that she hasn't got to yet. She's still strict, she still likes things being proper, but she's more relaxed with Sam, for example. So yeah, they become nicer, more tolerant without losing their character, without losing their quirks as well. So I think it's really effective. I think it's really good. Another example, Thor still, a bit angry at times, not able to express his feelings as effectively as everybody else, but he goes to therapy and then he's able to tell Flower how he feels about her. So yeah, I feel like we definitely kind of move that the characters develop, very well. I think one of the biggest things about the CBS Ghosts and the BBC one as well, and what I feel like a lot of the fans love about it, it is wholesome. It is so sweet. The emphasis is on people being inherently good people, with the exception of Hetty's husband and the Farnsbys. Everybody is inherently good. Even Trevor, we find out, was very sweet. He brags about his death being this drug and sex filled death, but in fact it was him being really sweet and being really nice, and him, getting set up by somebody else and, being killed because people being horrible. I think it is really nice. It's really wholesome. I definitely understand why, fans like it. It's very, very nice. And I feel like a lot of American sitcoms do kind of focus on characters being nice. And for example, Parks and Rec is one of my favourite sitcoms ever, one of my favourite shows ever. And, their characters are all inherently good people. They have their weird quirks. They perhaps don't make the best decisions and act the right way all of the time, but they're inherently good. The Good Place, looking at, how every human has the capability eventually to be good people. And so I definitely feel like this draws upon that kind of themes and making the idea that the ghosts will eventually become good people. Even though they may be intolerant to certain things, they may have extreme anger issues, they may be a gossip or be too kind of self-absorbed. So, I definitely see that, and I really like that. It's nice watching a show where everybody, even though again they may make bad decisions, they may be a bit annoying at times, they are, trying to improve as people. I also love how the ghosts interact with the living world a lot more than they do in the original. I think, so we had Alberta being able to control the Alexa, which I thought was very cool. Obviously we had similar thing with the plague girl being able to, talk on the phone. But then obviously we had Jay being possessed by Hetty. We also had Jay's sister being catfished by Trevor on a dating app. Yeah, so I like how we definitely get more interaction between the two worlds. I think that's really cool. I really, really like that. And I think one of the best things about this series being, an American series is that there are more episodes. And that is a big distinction between kind of UK and US comedy shows, is that UK generally tend to stick between 6 and 10 episodes a series, whereas America it's 20 odd. So we're going to get more episodes, we're going to get more development of the characters. However, we'll get on to actually that bit in a second. But we get more episodes of the show, which is always a plus. So what didn't I like? So there are a few things that I didn't like that aren't necessarily caused by the writing or the production of the show. The first thing was that the episodes are shorter. That's always going to be a fault for me. I know, obviously they can't control it, but the episodes are shorter. So we're going from a half-hour episode to a 20-minute episode. And because of that, I feel like some of the storylines in the episodes do move on a bit too quickly. They do resolve a bit too quickly. I know this is typical of sitcoms, but to me, it does feel like everything kind of moves a bit more fast-paced between, in episodes. I feel like, obviously, the storyline going over a whole 20-ish episodes compared to 6 episodes, we do get length in the story that way. But the individual episodes, I do feel like the story moves a bit too quickly. So again, it's not really their fault, because they do have a shortened episode. And when we're kind of, especially, it's definitely more prevalent when the episode theme is similar to one that I've seen in the BBC version. It's this wouldn't have been happening 15 minutes into an episode in the UK version. So that's probably where it's coming from. I think if I hadn't seen the US one, that probably wouldn't be as prevalent to me. But I do feel like things do resolve a bit too quickly. Also, kind of leading on to this is I do feel like the characters do seem a bit too like lucky and fortunate in certain ways. So things, obviously, like I said, things resolve too quickly. Things go their way a bit too quickly. We kind of lose a bit of that struggle. And obviously, you know, these are people that have inherited a house. That's lucky that we have that in the UK version as well. They've inherited a dilapidated house and have an accident, see ghosts, and they've got to deal with trying to figure out what they're doing with the house, whether they're going to sell it, whether they're going to turn it into a B&B, and then like building a B&B, turning it into a B&B, starting a business. And it definitely feels like they've had a bit too much luck, whereas in the UK version, like, you know, obviously things work out in the end, but it's definitely, everything seems like a lot more of an effort in the UK version as to what the characters have to do to make things work. Like, I think one of the biggest examples of this I can think of is in the UK version, they're struggling for money. So Fanny has an idea and she's like, oh, I know, we've got some jewels hidden in somewhere. So they go and find the jewels, they open it up, there's nothing in there. In the US version, we have them finding a vault, them finding a dead body, them taking the watch off the dead body, and that watch being worth an insane amount of money that they then get to like use on the business. And another example again is how they beat the Farnsbys at that tennis game like so quickly. I think it probably would have been more effective if we had seen it in action. I definitely thought that ghost that was in their house was gonna, you know, kind of be involved some way, but she wasn't. But the way that they just lost by like default in the game, I thought that was a bit anticlimactic. Again, however, on the flip side, the episode ends in a disaster. They their floor falls in just as they're about to welcome their first guest, and then we're kind of left with that ambiguous ending that, is Sam going to be able to still see ghosts? Is Jay going to now be able to see ghosts? Are they going to lose their memory? So I should have said that in what I liked, because I did like the ending. I know a lot of people were kind of a bit like, ooh, about it, but I really liked it. It leaves it open. It allows fans to kind of talk about theories, which is one of the things I love about the UK version. Yeah, so it brings things full circle with one accident at the beginning to an accident at the end. And yeah, they're back almost to like square one with like having to rebuild and, you know, get the house back into order to be able to welcome B&B guests. One thing that links to me saying that things resolve a bit too quickly is I do find that we find out too much about the ghosts too soon. I really like the mystery surrounding each ghost in the UK version. While it is fun to kind of get to know the ghosts a bit better, even though there still are mysteries surrounding them, but I feel like some things are kind of told to us a bit too quickly. I would like to have that kind of tension of, wanting to find out more about them, getting little clues here and there and then eventually finding out what happens. But yeah, again, like I said, they kind of approach that differently in both series, but I like the kind of, trying to find out clues about what happened to them. One last thing, again, that is not really their fault is the amount of gaps we had between the episodes. I believe there was 2 or 3 hiatuses, and one of them lasted a good few months. It really broke up the series, and I'd be so excited for one episode and then I'd kind of lose interest a bit. I feel like sometimes having a break between things can work. That's what a break between series, seasons, really does help generate anticipation and excitement for the next episode. But when you've kind of got episodes and you've had a break and then you get 2 episodes and you've got another break, it just kind of drew it out a bit too much for my liking, and I definitely felt like, I was losing interest between episodes. It's why it took me so long to catch up, because I'd forgotten about it for a bit because there was just no episodes to watch. Again, I'm not really sure how much is their fault. I know that type of thing definitely happens on American television a lot more than it does here. We may miss 1 week, but we don't tend to have weeks and weeks in between episodes. So yeah, not really their fault, but still something that did affect my enjoyment of the show. So what am I looking forward to is I am genuinely looking forward and excited for a new series. I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was a lot better than I ever thought it could be. It's one of the best remakes I've seen. It's fantastic. It's really, really good. I am looking forward to finding out a bit more about the ghosts. I know they definitely explore a lot more things to do with the ghosts, a lot more than they do in the UK one, and it happens a lot more quickly. Again, it could be because we just had a lot more episodes, but there are still mysteries surrounding the ghosts that I want to find out about. So yeah, I'm excited for that. I'm excited to see what happens to Sam and Jay at the end of the episode. Like I said, are they going to switch powers? Are, they going to temporarily lose their powers, which I think might happen. I think Sam is going to temporarily lose her ability to see ghosts, because that would draw attention immediately to the first episode. And, I think obviously she's going to be able to see ghosts eventually, and maybe Jay might see ghosts for a little bit, like maybe if it's just like when he first wake up he sees them and then they fade, just so he can see like what the characters look like. I think it'd be cool, just so we can put like a face to the name almost. And yeah, lastly, I'm very excited to see how the ghosts are going to like interact with the B&B guests, because I think the B&B is definitely going to open probably a quarter to a halfway through the next series, just by kind of like how it's moving. I think that's when the B&B is going to open, because obviously they've got to work out how they're going to fix the floor. Probably some other problem will arise with opening the B&B. So yeah, I think that's probably a quarter of the way through the second series is when we're going to see the B&B open. Yeah, I feel like we could have something introducing a new character that like maybe comes into the B&B and can see the ghosts. And I think I mentioned this, I wanted someone else to see the ghost in the UK version, but I definitely feel like we've got the opportunity for that to happen in this version more than the other version. So I definitely want a B&B guest who can come into the B&B and see the ghost. And then there's that like awkward thing of being like, she can see us, and then like Sam and that person, bonding over the fact that they can both see ghosts. I think also having a guest that can stay kind of for a long term, maybe like 2 or 3 episodes, that maybe one of the other ghosts starts to like in a certain way. I don't know, but that could be a good plotline. So is it better than the original? No, but it's different to the original in all of the best ways. I think, to me, what suits my humour, what suits my tastes in TV shows more, I would say I'm never going to like it more than the UK version. However, it is so distinct from the UK version that making a comparison almost seems like not necessary. To me, they are completely different shows. They have evolved so differently, and they're different shows at this point. They're so distinct from each other that it's not a case of which one's a better version of it, because I feel like it just depends on which one you prefer best. It's not a bad show. Like, when I looked at the IT Crowd remake, that was inherently bad. It just didn't work. Whereas this one, it works. It is a good show. So it's just a matter of which one you prefer best. So yeah, thank you for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know what you think of the CBS version. I know there's a lot of American viewers that haven't seen the British one. I strongly recommend you watch it. But yeah, let me know what you think of the US version if you have seen both. What do you prefer about each version? Stuff like that. I'd love to hear what you guys think. And yeah, subscribe if you want to see more videos to do with ghosts, and either version of ghosts, that is. And I'll have more videos out for you soon. Thank you for watching. Bye!